the dream of a national championship more than enough to get these Roundnet players from Texas A&M and Georgia all riled up. That's because that dream becomes a reality for one of these Roundnet clubs today here in Athens, Georgia. Hello and welcome into the Spikeball College Championships alongside two-time national champion Sean Boyer. I'm Marshall Harris, where it's already been a whirlwind week for a bunch of Roundnet clubs today. Sean, you've loved what you've seen.
I have. We had some great action yesterday and today. I think the difference so far has been in serving. The teams that are making the breaks, getting the aces, are the ones usually going through. I think that's going to be a big factor today in the finals.
It's been a huge, huge weekend for teams trying to advance to the championship. Let's show you how Texas A&M and Georgia got to this point. Taking a look at the quarterfinals on, you'll see there's been a lot of competition. Really, parity's been the story, Sean.
Yeah, Aggies are known for their power, so I think they're going to rely on their serves, hope that's their competitive edge, while the Bulldogs on their side really preach consistency, trying to make fewer mental errors and hopefully get that edge, clinch this win.
Let's welcome in the third member of our broadcast team, Stormy Bonantoni, with more. Stormy?
Well, Marshall, more often than not, when you see the game of Roundnet played, it's on sand or grass or maybe even turf. Very rarely will you see it on a hardwood court surface like we have here today. But weather here in Athens has forced us indoors for this tournament, and it's certainly been a factor and been a challenge for a number of these teams throughout the day. Now, while the Georgia Bulldogs will certainly have the crowd at their advantage here on their home court, the other side, the Texas A&M Aggies, feel like they are the ones with the advantage because one of their 3 practices every single week is on a racquetball court at College Station, so they feel quite confident on the surface here today.
Thanks, Stormy. Let's take a look at our first 2 teams for match number 1. Grant Laughlin from Texas A&M. He's a senior electrical systems engineering major. He'll be teamed up with David Louie. Louie, 24 years of age. He's from Singapore. He's a mechanical engineering major. They'll be taking on the team from Georgia. It'll be Min Bowie, who's from Stockbridge, Georgia. He's a finance major. He'll be partnered up with Addison Powers, the final member of this first match. Addison is from Augusta, Georgia, just down the road. He's 21 years old. He is a computer science major, and we are ready to start with the first match of this year's Spikeball College Championships. On the serve, it'll be Addison Powers. That one, a fault as he hits rim. So he'll get a second serve. It'll be interesting to see how these players start off in this championship game. Second serve on the way, returned nicely, put on net, and a great job there as the first point goes to Texas A&M.
Clinical finish there from Louie. These teams are both A teams from their schools, so they're considered the best and going to represent them trying to come out strong off the bat.
The serve from Laughlin, and you see him use his body to try to get it back up in the air, unable to do it, so it's a point for Georgia, and 1-1, and so far, the team on defense holding serve. That one up, pocket, so it'll be a fault, and a second serve for Min Bowie. Bowie now, serve number 2. Hits rim on that, so another point for Texas A&M, and they will get the serve back with Louie back to serve.
Yeah, double fault there. Maybe these players are just shaking out some nerves. It's a pretty big stage for them to play on, but I think they're ready to bring it.
Rimmer there on serve number 1 for Texas A&M and Bowie. Bowie with the second serve, gets it on net, return and set, and then a poor set on hit number 2 by Min Bowie.
Yeah, as I mentioned, nerves. That was a pretty uncharacteristic set from Bowie. Hopefully he can figure that out and not make that same mistake again.
So Louie now with the serve after getting the break point, and Bowie gets it right back and finishes off that point to get the serve back for Georgia.
That hit will build a little confidence. He had nice patience. You'll see the set comes in, waits for the last second, sweet little backhand to finish it.
Now the serve from Addison Powers. Laughlin clean and through, and gets the point and the serve back for Texas A&M.
We talked about the Aggies' power, and there it is. That backhand went almost into the bleachers.
So Texas A&M serving, and with a 4-2 lead, Laughlin trying to set up his opponent, pivots right, and that one goes high, so it'll be a fault.
It's subtle, but you could see that caught the back end of the rim, popped it up, took a weird trajectory, so that's why it's a result in a fault.
Steps into this one, return. Can they get it back on net? Here's hit number 3. Missing the mark is Addison Powers. The unforced error, and maybe just a little too far out to start that set.
A little far. Those are hard hits to make. You don't just want to pooch it onto the net there. You want to bring some pace or it'll be too easy for them to defend.
Laughlin again with the serve. That one goes off the hand and straight through. They're going to give him the ace there, or is that going to be a fault?
I think they're going to call a fault on it. Laughlin agrees, so he'll step back for his second serve.
Texas A&M serving. That one's going to hit pocket. And another point for Georgia, and they'll get the serve back. This time back, it'll be Bowie.
Yeah, Georgia's got a little hole they're in. They need to dig out of here, and that could help.
Georgia needed a break point, and they get it on the ace from Bowie.
A lot of spin on this guy. Catches Laughlin off guard. No chance there.
So Bowie to Louis. Hits a rim shot on serve number 1 for the fault. And he'll hit the pocket on the second one as well. So a point now for Texas A&M, and they maintain that 2-point lead. And of course, in Roundnet, that's what it really comes down to most times, is if you can get up on break points.
It is. 2 points doesn't seem like a lot right now, but when it comes down to being 2018, you want every point you can get.
Louis now on his second serve, and that's out of the reach of Bowie, the ace. Texas A&M trying to create some space, another break point.
He'll take another look at that. Bowie, it doesn't even look like he's swinging that hard, but it catches. He got good spin, so the ball comes off, just shoots towards the receiver.
Louis there with the rimmer on his first serve, so he'll get another chance. Second serve gets up in there, set by Powers, and out of the reach of Laughlin. It's a great shot there by Bowie.
Yeah, you don't usually want to hit on 2. It can go wrong in a lot of ways, but sometimes you got to do it to keep the defense honest, and I think Bowie saw them taking a slow approach and opted for on 2.
So here's Powers serving, set to Louis, who gets it through, beautifully done, and that's textbook.
It really is. That's what you're looking for on offense. Just these 1, 2, 3, clean, find the space, hit into it. Don't give the defense a shot.
So Laughlin now on the serve. Hits front rim on that, and you can see just waiting is Bowie and trying to figure out what's going to happen, because that power on that serve is no joke.
Yeah, and Georgia technically can play that. They have a choice if it comes off rim where they're going to play that serve. They decided not to, and I think it was the right call.
Tough there. Can he get it back on net? He does, but I think they're going to call rim.
No good. It was a great effort. He got it towards the net. Those aren't easy.
So Laughlin asserting himself through his serve, putting Georgia in an uncomfortable position in these break points, coming back behind. That one is played. It's not going to make it back, and Laughlin dominant here in the early going as Texas A&M has built a 10-5 lead.
Yeah, you'll see the sheer power he's putting behind that. When we talked to the Aggies before this game, they all pointed at Laughlin and said, this kid can serve.
Lobster trap there, though, on that serve, so he'll get a second one, as the first one is a fault. Side steps.
A little wide and high, so they'll call that one a fault. Or they went to observer. My mistake. Observer called clean. Laughlin gets another ace.
Let's take a quick break from the action to look at how the game of Roundnet is played. The sport of Roundnet is played 2-on-2 with each team starting on opposite sides of the net. Now, once the ball is served, you get up to 3 touches to try to return the ball back on the net, just like 2-on-2 volleyball. Think bump, set, and spike. Now, what makes Roundnet unique is that after the serve, there are no sides or boundaries. You can run, pass, and spike the ball off the net in any direction to try to win the point. When a team fails to return the ball, the rally is over, and the other team receives 1 point. That's it for the basics. The Spikeball College Championships are brought to you by Spike Buoy. It's Spikeball in water. It's been a long season, so let's take a look at the College Series format. The Spikeball College Series began 2 years ago with UMass Amherst winning it in 2017 and UTC in 2018. This year, there were over 100 official college programs across 9 regions of the country, all competing to qualify for today's college championships. All qualifying schools sent their top 3 teams to compete together as a school. In a single elimination bracket, School A's top 3 teams compete against School B's top 3 teams. Whichever school wins the best of those 3 matchups advances to the next round until one school remains and is crowned champion. Back to serve now is Buoy. And Buoy can't do anything with it. So an ace that Georgia badly needed to cut the deficit to 4. That's one break point. Let's see if they can string something together.
That's what they're going to need. String some aces together, maybe some defensive ups to get back in this.
Front rim here, as you see, Buoy is being aggressive, understanding that his team has a deficit. Running out of time here in game 1. A little double clutch there. Laughlin able to play it, though. Looks like that's going to be called a pocket.
It was close. I almost thought it was good from up here, but in the end, double fault for Buoy.
Well, we talked a little bit about the road to get here, and for this Texas A&M team, they had a similar dominant performance against the top-ranked individual team from Cal Poly SLO, beating them in 2 games earlier today to make it to this point. And they lost to them in the individual tournament in 2 games, so they're feeling really confident after getting that win in the semifinals and showing up big already here today.
All right, thanks so much, Stormy. As we see Georgia back on serve, down by 4. And that goes over the head. Too high for Louis. So the double fault. Texas A&M back in business, I should say, with a 13-8 lead, and Laughlin back on serve. And let's see if they can fare better this time, and they do.
Yeah, just caught Louis on his heels there. He tried to turn around, make an effort for it. A little off balance. We'll see here. Just a great hit from Buoy back where he was coming from. Didn't have a chance.
So Buoy now with the serve. His team down by 4, needing to make something happen. Pocket there, fault. Second serve coming. Lobster trap, and that's a double fault. Texas A&M's got another point.
They do. They're edging their way back into this, but that's still a pretty large gap once we get into the second half of this game.
Texas A&M already there, 7 points away from taking game number 1. As that's going to be a fault on serve number 1. And Louis back up, looking to make something happen. Returned, set, out of the reach. Addison Powers powering one through.
Absolutely, it's a great hit. Take a look here on the replay. He wraps the ball towards his body because he sees the defender taken out kind of in the space to his right. It was a very smart move.
So now Powers with the serve, looking for a break point, down 4. This one's going to be set up right over the net and pushed through beautifully by Louis.
I love that hit. He has the backhand, sends his defense there, and just kind of opens up, pushes it away from into space.
15-10, Texas A&M with the lead. Laughlin now on to serve. He's how they got that big lead to start with, several break points. That one, though, out of the reach of one Min Buoy.
With power like his, I feel like he gets faults for over the head quite a bit, but worth it.
Call there is going to be a double fault, so Buoy will now retain serve. Still down by 4, still needing to make up some space. Pocket there on serve number 1. And if you're Georgia here, Sean, you can see not the clock necessarily, but the score going against you is pulled through nicely there by Laughlin for that point.
Definitely can. Let's take a look back here. A powerful serve, but A&M does a good job wrangling it in and putting it away.
Now it's Louis on the serve. Gets up to Georgia. Right there in place was Laughlin. He'll get the block and then the set, but cannot finish it off. That's something we see all the time when we're talking about Roundnet, is you make a great play to keep it alive and then have a chance to finish off your opponent, but it goes awry.
I've seen that happen a lot this week, and I don't know what it is. These players, they're running it down. They're doing everything they need to put themselves in a position to earn that point. And in the last second, either catch rim, just don't convert.
Meanwhile, Texas A&M just holding serve.
That was another textbook play. Good wraparound to finish that one off from Louis.
So Laughlin, 4 points away from getting a win here in game 1 of match 1 between Texas A&M and Georgia. Misses everything on the first serve. Trying to avoid the double fault. Goes soft, but hits rim, back rim. So that's a point for Georgia. Still down by 4 points. They need 8 before Texas A&M can get 4.
It's a big deficit. If anything else, they may know this game's in the bag, and they're probably not going to come back from it. But they need to give fight, get a little dignity, get a little confidence. And just like that, I think that'll bode well for them down the road of this final stretch.
Great play there by Georgia because a phenomenal play was made early on that point.
Bowie barely gets that up, has the means to put it on from distance, and a lot of power behind it as well.
So now we have Georgia serving, trying to make something happen, down by 3. Been in the 3 to 5 deficit range the entire game. Here's Laughlin setting it up for Louis. Unable to get over there in time is Addison Powers. Texas A&M gets the point. Now just 3 points away from the magic number of 21.
Mentally speaking, too, it's so much easier to play with a few points ahead. You don't feel pressure. You're not down. You can do stuff like that. You don't always want to go for short, but when you have a couple-point cushion, you get that luxury. You'll see a little backspin on it, gives it that extra dip. Bowie had no hope.
Now Georgia trying to make something happen. This time they can't even get it back to the net. And it's looking like a situation where Texas A&M just has to finish this off, whether it's on a serve or playing defense, up 20-14.
It'll be important for Georgia here to just finish this one strong, even though they might lose. Try and get their heads back in this game, coming into game 2.
Able to hold there. Now they need a break point to keep it going. So again, game point for Texas A&M. Laughlin back to receive. Fault there on Addison Powers. He'll get a second serve. All the pressure here on Georgia in game number 1. Lobster trap to end it. And game 1 is over. And match 1 between Texas A&M and Georgia. And the early favor goes to Texas A&M. Up 21-15. We'll see if Georgia can rally in game number 1 after Laughlin. Grant was the big deciding factor in this one. The Spikeball College Championships are brought to you by Spike Buoy. It's Spikeball in water. Back with more of the Spikeball College Championships here in Athens, Georgia, where the host team, Georgia, down 1-0 to Texas A&M after a 21-15 first game. We'll see if Grant Laughlin and David Louis can make it a clean sweep, 2-0. Over Min Bowie and Addison Powers. A dominant serving game from Laughlin early really sealed Georgia's fate as we get started here in game number 2.
Laughlin had 4 or 5 serves in that first game and really did make the difference in the end.
And that's a tough way to start off game number 2 if you're Georgia. An unforced error and another break point by Laughlin as Texas A&M goes up 1-0, and Laughlin's still back there waiting to serve. This time Addison Powers. That one a little high, so it'll be a first fault. And he'll just go ahead and see if he can get it done. Let's go down to Stormy for more. Stormy?
Well, I was listening in over at the Texas A&M bench during that last break, and Grant Laughlin and David Louie both saying that they wanted to play a little bit deeper on their hits as well as defensively, and the goal is to get UGA's Min Bowie to show his drop serve. He hasn't done it yet. They don't think he has a particularly strong one and want to force him into that situation. Also gave a lot of credit to Laughlin, as you guys just mentioned, for his serve. Gave him a lot of pats on the shoulder for those things.
Here we're seeing Min Bowie serve. Thanks, Stormy. And that one's well out of the reach of Addison Powers as Louie puts it away. And Texas A&M has to feel pretty good about how this game has gone so far, considering Georgia struggled really early in game number 1 as well.
They've been struggling. Texas has been in control of this since that first serve in game 1. I would imagine that Georgia, during the break, we're talking about how they can handle these serves a little better.
There you see the play from Min Bowie as Bowie got one by Louie to get Georgia back on the board and in control. And now Addison Powers is serving with a chance to go up 3-2.
They're going to need to bring the heat, try and catch them on their heels here.
What a great hit there by Laughlin. And that will hold serve for Texas A&M. But Laughlin really doing more than just serving out here. He's made some great plays with his body, and when you have a larger frame, I guess it becomes easier for you to do that, Sean.
Definitely easier. You're catching more balls, but it's, harder for you to get around, and he showed that he is an athlete. He's throwing his body all over the place, having fun while he's doing it.
Laughlin back looking for another break point. This time leaves it slow. See if Georgia can make it happen. Laughlin got a hand on it, but just out of the reach of Louie. And Georgia gets the point and gets the serve back.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Laughlin has 2 choices here, and he gets caught in the middle. He either needs to open his hand more so that ball bounces towards partner, or just leave it past altogether. Instead, he kind of ruins the point and hits the ball back towards away from his teammate.
Can Georgia take advantage here, the soft serve, and now we've got another situation where Louie is able to drop one lightly on the net and get Texas A&M back in control.
Clever little hit from Louie. Sometimes you don't need that much power to win the point.
Louie on the serve. That's a pocket. So he'll get a second serve. Bowie back to receive. Sometimes when you go on 2, good things happen, and we see it there from Addison Powers, not wanting to wait around and give a chance to Texas A&M to set up.
We saw that happen in the first game. You typically are hitting on 2 if you see the defense biting early or leaving their space when they shouldn't be. And it worked out.
Technically sound round net play so far here today. Just a little more power on the side of Texas A&M as Addison Powers will try to serve Georgia ahead now. Unreturned, and Powers does just that as Laughlin unable to handle the serve.
That's just what they needed. He's raising his foot there to get even more power behind his hand when he's serving, and it's showing.
The set here, Louie kept alive, unable to get it to the net cleanly, and now a chance to put it away, and break points galore for Georgia as they take a 2-point lead.
Fans are loving what they're seeing here. 6-4, a nice little cushion lead. The ball just bounces up into a good spot for Georgia to convert on this, and they put it away.
Powers will try to get it done one more time. That one goes over the head of Laughlin. So that's a fault. He'll get a second serve, however. Looking for a 3rd straight break point. It won't happen, though, as he hits front rim. Instead, Texas A&M gets the point. Now it'll be interesting to see if Georgia can hold here, get the serve back, have a 2-point lead.
Yeah, they're going to need to return serves a lot better than game 1 because that was the difference. I think Laughlin caught a little rim there, so it won't be a clean ace. He'll step back for his second serve.
Laughlin tries to go light with it, unable to get it to the net. It's a lobster trap. And Georgia has that 2-point lead, and now it's up to Min Bowie to try to add to it.
Laughlin on that short. I think he would have had him on that short this last serve, but he didn't get on the net, so he never even had to look at it.
Able to double clutch it there. That's out in the open. And if we were outside, maybe you see some diving, but here on the hardwood, not so much.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see some diving at some point, but players definitely second guess when you got hardwood floor below you.
So now it's Louie on the serve, and that is an ace. Actually, they're saying they think it's pocket. They may have to go to an observer here to find out what the call is, and it is going to be a fault. And another serve chance for Louie on Bowie. Bowie able to get over. Just out of the reach of Grant Laughlin. And Laughlin was positioned nicely, but just too much power on the finishing move by Bowie.
Bowie loses his shoe going for that one. Shows you how much he's getting behind that. Laughlin was in a decent spot, but just a little to his right and couldn't get a hand on it.
So Georgia again with a 2-point lead. Addison Powers trying to make something happen. Goes front rim on the first serve. So that's a fault. See if he can be a little more productive on his second serve. Laughlin back to receive. They're going to call that high, and it's a double fault. And now Laughlin back in the driver's seat as the server, looking for a break point, which has come more than regularly for Texas A&M to this point.
Yeah, Georgia got to be happy with the performance going into game 2. It's much harder to play from behind in a game 2 when you've already lost game 1. So mentally speaking, they're in a much better place.
Here you've got 2 high serves and a double fault from Laughlin, and that's what Georgia needed, because when Laughlin was getting the ball on the net, they were having all kinds of difficulties returning.
Yeah, that's been the difference, I think, in game 2. Laughlin is not getting the aces he was in game 1.
Serve here for Bowie. Fault. Second serve coming. Louis back to receive. Able to get it, set it up, and just past an incoming Bowie. Tried to go to the net to play with his body, but volley serve, that's the risk you take.
Yeah, I think when Bowie watches this one back, he'll wish he'd made a dive backwards because that ball just sat up in the air for him. He just wasn't ready for it.
High serve from Louis as Texas A&M trying to get back even with a break point. Set nicely. Just out of the range of Louis with his outstretched left hand. And Georgia staying in control of this match almost at the halfway point. Trying to get to 21 before Texas A&M can and even this match at 1 game apiece.
Yeah, Georgia's doing a good job not making those mental errors. They preach consistency, as we talked about, and it's showing. They're going to need that coming into the final stretch.
Sidestep there by Addison Powers on the serve. Now Grant Laughlin powering through.
Laughlin does a great job wrapping into his own body, getting that hit as far away from the defense as possible.
Laughlin double faulted his last serve. Let's see if he can go back to what he was doing before. They decide to play the high serve, and Georgia.
You see Louis pointing at himself. He knew he should have kept running and had a play on that ball, but I think he got caught a little off guard thinking Laughlin was going to make the play.
So Georgia still in control. Still plenty of time left here in game 2. 11-9 lead. And now it's Bowie on the serve. Louis back to receive. Didn't know for a second if they were really going to play that point. I didn't think they were. But
Laughlin looked like he was going to go for a tweener there, catches it in the end, and they don't choose to play.
Here the set. Back on net. Back to receive it as Powers. He gets it back in the general area. Can he get back in time? A little distance between him and the net. And just a little too far. Could not put it away.
Although it wasn't the best second set, we'll see it here. It's all you can ask for. A great run there from Powers. He puts it up, gives him a chance to even have a go at the net, but those are tough.
Did he try to put too much on it, you think?
I don't know if he put too much on it, but it just wasn't enough towards the net for Powers to have a clean shot.
Second serve here from Louis, and Bowie returns into the distance. And Georgia maintaining that 2-point lead. Powers now to serve. Laughlin back to receive. Powers hits the back of the pocket. So it'll be a fault and a second serve on the way. Georgia steadily building some confidence here by holding on to this lead. A little soft hit. Don't think he got it to the net.
I don't think so. It looked like Bowie and Powers were talking right before that serve. I'm guessing Bowie told him to try a short. Although it didn't go on the net, I like the creativity.
That goes high for Grant Laughlin. It'll be a fault. Texas A&M, it's been a while since they had a break point, and that's why they are trailing right now, trying to even things up. Tries to go soft. And Laughlin, after a fiery start to game 1, has really had issues with his serve.
He has. He's been a stark difference from this to the last game.
No issues there.
And you can tell how much these teams are reliant on their serves right now. Really pushing the limits, both short and long, resulting in some double faults, but we've also seen aces sprinkled in between.
We saw the kill there from Louis. Let's see what he does on serve. His team down 1 point, 13-12, in a back-and-forth struggle, which Georgia's maintained a 1 to 2 point lead for the last 7 or 8 points. And now they'll have a chance to make it a 3-point lead if they can find a break point, as Laughlin will receive. And there it is. Addison Powers making it happen. Lived up to his last name on that serve, certainly, and Laughlin had nothing he could do there.
Yeah, it was a powerful hit, and also what we like to call a cut serve. Has enough spin on it that it jumps to the side when it hits the net, really catches the receiver off guard.
Some physical contact on that play as Louis able to make the most of a short serve situation. That'd be one of those perfect times to try the short serve, in that you just finished off with an ace. So 15-13 right now.
You may have heard some new words watching today. Here's a look at Roundnet terminology. A lobster trap is a serve that misses low and then gets trapped underneath the net. A pocket is when the ball takes an unexpected bounce after legally bouncing right next to the rim. A tweener is when someone spikes the ball between their legs. A hinder is when a defensive player illegally gets in the way of an offensive player. And finally, a fuengo is a serve where you lean and spike the ball from the opposite side of your serving hand. The sport of Roundnet is played 2-on-2 with each team starting on opposite sides of the net. Now, once the ball is served, you get up to 3 touches to try to return the ball back on the net, just like 2-on-2 volleyball. Think bump, set, and spike. Now, what makes Roundnet unique is that after the serve, there are no sides or boundaries. You can run, pass, and spike the ball off the net in any direction to try to win the point. When a team fails to return the ball, the rally is over and the other team receives 1 point. That's it for the basics.
Min Bowie and Addison Powers, the hometown team, as the University of Georgia serving as host for these Spikeball college championships. Meanwhile, the road team, if you will, making themselves at home. And we heard Stormy talk about it earlier, but the fact that, Grant Laughlin, David Louis, they practice once a week inside of a gym. How much of a difference can that make, Sean?
I think it's got to be a big difference because playing on a hardwood floor, if you don't have experience with it, the ball, it's going to take a much harder trajectory coming off that net. The net doesn't move as much. Even running around, if you're used to wearing cleats, you're not going to have as much traction.
Here's Grant Laughlin. That serve return by Bowie, but unable to get that second set going was Addison Powers, and Laughlin does what he needs to do, find a break point right out of the timeout.
Powers looked uncomfortable with where that set was. It was kind of placed right over the net. He didn't have a chance.
Speaking of break points, the spin move there, is that going to go as an ace, or are they going to say it hit the pocket? Looks like this one's going to the observers.
Georgia's arguing for a pocket on that, and I think the observers agree, so this will be Laughlin's second serve.
So Laughlin looking to do a little deke action. Returned, set up nicely, and out of the reach of Laughlin, and Addison Powers makes the most of a second opportunity.
A good finish from Powers, even better set from Bowie to him. He had a lot of space to work with.
So here, rotating. It'll be Min Bowie on the serve, and Louis on the return. He hits front rim on that one, though. Georgia trying to hang on to a 2-point lead. They're 5 points away from evening the matchup at 1 game apiece. Louis over to Laughlin. Bodied nicely by Bowie. Set back up. Out of the reach of Louis. And Georgia creating space. Now up by 3 points, and the crowd, you can hear it, They can sense that the tide may have turned in game number 2.
Yeah, it was a big pickup from Bowie getting his body on that. He saw the set was a little off the net, got in a perfect position, played it well, and earned it.
Textbook return, set, and kill there from Texas A&M. And now Louis will try to cut the gap down by 2. Set, over to Powers, just out of the reach of Laughlin. And Georgia remaining in control now, 3 points away from a game 2 win.
Yeah, let's take another look at that. It's a great hit from Madison. Finds him probably 2 squares of the net to work with, but it was a good shot.
Here's Powers, returned by Bowie. Make that Louis, and looks like Powers has his team 2 points away from a game 2 win. Laughlin now back to receive. Powers looking for another break point, instead finds a lobster trap on serve number 1.
That was a big mental error from Louis. If they had any shot at winning this, they needed to get a point there. It's going to be tough to come back.
Soft hit there, set nicely. Up, kept alive. Georgia now looking for the kill, and using the left to get it done is Addison Powers. And now Texas A&M on the ropes as game point is coming up.
He went for the short on the serve. It wasn't a very hard hit from Laughlin, so Georgia just ate it up and finished that one out.
Powers now serving for the game. Returned by Bowie. Make that Louis, and the call's going to be a rim. And they're talking it over, and that'll do it. Georgia takes game number 2, 21-15. A couple of games, we had 21-15 outcomes. We'll get a game 3, a decisive one between Georgia and Texas A&M coming up. There's a look at the trophy that these 2 teams are playing for. A couple of schools all the way in the Spikeball college championships. Texas, A&M, or Georgia. Who will it be? And right now, knotted up in match number 1 at 1 game apiece. 21-15, Texas A&M took the first game, and then Georgia responded with a 21-15 game of their own. And now we'll see the first match come down to the 3rd and decisive game, with Addison Powers serving, hits front rim, going up against David Louis, and he'll get a second serve. That one returnable, but apparently it hit pocket, and the point will go to Texas A&M.
It's been an interesting start to this series with the similar scorelines in game 1 and 2 of this match. I have no idea who's going to break out and win this one, but it's going to be exciting.
Hard serve return by Laughlin, and Georgia finds a way to get it done. And then Bowie answering the call.
Yeah, Georgia's coming in with momentum after last game's win. I think that could really help them mentally down the stretch here.
More, and that point goes off the hand of Georgia. Texas A&M gets it done. Let's head back downstairs and check in with Stormy.
Well, speaking to just the energy and momentum that this Georgia team may be feeling, their teammate Noah Luskus, who's been sitting over there on the bench getting ready to play, is known as one of the most passionate players on the team, and he got the entire crowd chanting UGA right in their ears before they came out here. This UGA team, though, they were sitting there feeling extremely calm the entire time, and you can see the calm and composure on their faces out there now.
Thanks, Stormy. We see the tweener there from Addison Powers to tie things up at 2 apiece here in the early going in game 3 of match 1 between Texas A&M and Georgia. Powers on the second serve, hits rim again. And Grant Laughlin and Texas A&M in control of this game, up 3-2. We'll see if they can get a break point and build a bit of a cushion. That one well too high over Min Bowie's head. And does a game 3 have a different feel, Sean, when you're playing out here?
In my experience, the biggest difference in game 3 is if you're down, the pressure mounts, because any mistake you make, this game is for it all.
We'll see if Min Bowie and company can come up with something and really build on the hometown support they've had here in this gym playing at home. A double fault there. So Texas A&M up 4-3, looking for a break point. And we've talked all day about how the break points can be so crucial as Louis serves and hits rim on his first serve. But in a game 3, all it takes is a couple of break points and the game can be over.
Yeah, and we've seen that in the first couple games. I think it will come down to serving, as we've seen so far. Laughlin got pretty quiet in game 2. If he doesn't show up in game 3, I think the favor's in Georgia's court.
Addison Powers, too high for Bowie to return. Powers will get a second serve. Tied up at 4. Set nicely. That was able to be returned by Bowie. The tweener. It looks like he hit the net on it.
He did. It was a great point leading up. They had the control of it. That's all that Louis could do to get the ball on, so Georgia had a nice shot at it, but Bowie's leg scrapes the net. You're not allowed to do that. The point will go to Texas A&M.
Meanwhile, on the other side, you're not allowed to hit rim on a serve. So Laughlin will get a second serve as he gets a fault on the first one, sidesteps and hits rim again. So the point goes right back to Georgia. It goes over to Bowie, who will now serve with Laughlin receiving.
Looks like Bowie's tying his shoe over here. We saw that fall off in game 2, so I think he's making sure it's extra tight.
Keep your shoes on, young man. Bowie now trying to get Georgia in front, looking for a break point. Fault on the first serve, hitting rim. Laughlin back to receive and ready to go. Able to return that, set it up for his partner, and then over into no man's land.
If I was coaching Georgia, I would tell them to recognize that Laughlin's been wrapping the ball a lot into his body. So we'll see here. You can watch him read the defense, and he's hitting even more towards himself than he normally would.
Great shot there by Addison Powers. Nothing Louis or Laughlin could do about that. Powers now will have the serve. Still looking for our first break point here in game number 3. That one was high. So Louis will call for a second serve after a fault.
They're consulting with the observers right now on whether that was high or not, and they agree it was high. So, yes, we'll be going to second serve here.
Looks like that one was high as well. But now that's going to go to the observers for sure, not sure. And they are saying, yes, it was not high.
I actually thought that this serve was not as high as the first one, at least.
Staying alive here. And Bowie hits into the ground. So a point for Texas A&M.
Yeah, interesting series of serves there. In the end, A&M comes out with a break ahead.
Going behind the back, is that high or is that?
I think that's high, but that, I mean,
it was a great
where
serve.
Credit's due. That's not easy to do. And it was clean. Hit right off the net, just came off a little too hard.
Looking for more, and that's going to be a pocket.
Let's take a quick break from the action to look at Spikeball terminology. A lobster trap is a serve that misses low and then gets trapped underneath the net. A pocket is when the ball takes an unexpected bounce after legally bouncing right next to the rim. A tweener is when someone spikes the ball between their legs. A hinder is when a defensive player illegally gets in the way of an offensive player. And finally, a fuego is a serve where you lean and spike the ball from the opposite side of your serving hand.
Texas A&M up 8-7 here in the early going of Game 3, Match 1. Louis now back to serve. That's returned. Nicely done. And Addison Powers lays it down. No one within a good 20 to 25 feet of that shot where it landed.
They weren't close, and this really is testament to their chemistry. You'll see they have to navigate around each other for Powers to finish that one through. It's a good thing Bowie didn't get in his way. That can end poorly.
So now Georgia trying to make it happen. It's 8-8. Let's check down with Stormy for more.
Well, just a fun little note on Addison Powers. His fan club over there in the audience has a sign that says Addison has the power. And the Powers is actually the name of his family's band. His family's got a folk rock band. It's him, his brother, and their 2 cousins. They're called the Powers. And Sean and Marshall, I'm a little mad at myself for not asking them when we had the team earlier if there's an Austin Powers in the family, because I really think that would just make the group explode.
I think that would definitely make the group take off even more so than they have already. But instead, it's definitely Mr. Powers Day, Addison, that is, as he's brought his team back to a 1-1 tie and a chance to win match number 1 here for Georgia today. 9-9, we are stalemated, as we have been throughout game number 3. Tough return here. Laughlin, will he be able to get back on net? No. And the point goes to Georgia.
A&M was in a major hole there. It was a great set from Louis. We'll take another look there. He put that right over the net for Laughlin, made it easy on him.
Oh, nice soft serve there for Texas A&M as they get the point.
Louis putting the team on his back right now. Follows up an amazing set with a serve like that. Getting a break or 2 is going to be huge.
First breaker of the game goes to Texas A&M, and now up 11-9, working on a second serve is Louis. Here's the chance they have to create some space, but instead of front rim, and we'll see if Georgia can get a break point of their own.
And I think this is when I was talking earlier about the pressure mounting, it really kicks in. But Powers is up to the task and gets an ace there. That's huge.
Georgia immediately responding with an ace of its own.
You'll see the cut on this. It just jumps, catches Laughlin off guard, hits him in the body. His hand's nowhere to be seen.
Powers looking for another one. He'll have to do it on a second serve after a fault. Lays it soft. Laughlin, and then up, saved. Can it get back up in the air? It can, but can he get it back down? He does. Laughlin there, though, to return. And now Laughlin goes up. Another set, another chance. And Georgia comes up with a huge point as Addison Powers goes down.
Great display of defense from both sides. This point got stretched out a little bit, but we had some good sets to keep it alive. Powers hits it towards Laughlin. Laughlin comes in, doesn't get enough on it to beat the defense, and then a diving save from Powers to finish that one out. I think that he touched net on that dive, though, so it's going to result in an A&M point here.
So all that effort, the pain for Powers, just for Laughlin and Texas A&M to get the point. Now they have a chance to go up by 2. Laughlin on serve. Goes soft, set nicely. Trying to body up was Laughlin, but Bowie found the hole, took advantage of it.
You got to think these Georgia guys are really relying on the atmosphere here and the fans to get them pumped up and push them through this final leg.
Bowie now on the serve. That one goes under the net. Double fault. Texas A&M goes up by 1, looking for another break point. Here's David Louis. Powers able to get it back to his partner. Then just over the outstretched hands of Louis, and Georgia able to hold serve.
Louis in a good spot, just a little slow to react. Maybe if he was off the net a few more feet, would have had the time, but can't be too mad at himself for giving him a chance.
Powers, and then back up. Might have enough time and space. Let's see what happens here. Just out of the reach of Laughlin, and the Georgia fans explode as they see their team go up by 1.
Yeah, they gotta love that. Another good set from Bowie we'll see in the middle of this point. Powers chases it down. That's a tough set from Bowie to know where the net is, know where to put it, and Powers rewards him with a nice finish.
Miss hit by Louis, who was over the top of the net. Costs Texas A&M as Georgia gets the break point and now goes up by 2.
Nicely done. They're going to go talk to their teams. They're pumped up right now. Georgia's done a good job getting into this and getting a little lead coming in the second half.
So Georgia goes up by 2 here in game 3 of match number 1 for the Spikeball College Championship. So back to serve now, Addison Powers. David Louis will be on the receiving end. And you wonder if Powers will have a little something special to start off. Instead goes right at, and unable to set it was Laughlin.
I think that A&M can't really believe that they're coming back with the serve. Observers will make the call, say it was a little shaky.
So
and I think
a replay or no, the point? They get the point. So they do get the point, 16-13.
What a way to start coming out of that break.
Georgia, again, good out of the break. Another soft hit by Powers. And that time, Laughlin ready and puts the kill away behind him.
Let's see what Laughlin's made of. He was amazing game 1. If he has anything in him, they need it now.
Powers has to be aware the power is probably coming here. That one is returnable. Powers looking, and he goes off around. Or was that a pocket?
That looked pretty rimmy from up here. I gotta say, that set from Bowie was 10 out of 10. You can't ask for much better than that. We'll take another look here. Running away from the net, puts it back across the net, which is where you want it, makes it much easier to hit. Maybe being on Powers' left hand just was a little awkward.
And the observers give Georgia the point, saying it was indeed a pocket, not a round. But Texas A&M right back. They've got some work to do, though, to make up this deficit. Georgia stands right now 4 points away from taking match number 1.
This is when it sets in. I think it gets a little real for these players that the road could either end here or be everything they hope for.
That one high off of the hand of Louis. As David Louis will have a second serve. Min Bowie back to receive. That time, able to get it. Powers back over to him. And beautifully rolled out in front of Louis.
The infamous shoe coming off again. Doesn't seem to be an issue, though, for Bowie.
Maybe Bowie needs some new shoes. Maybe he's a half size too big.
If he's superstitious at all, I don't think he'll be taking those off for a while.
That's true, especially if this lead holds up 18-15. Addison Powers now serving 3 points away from getting a match win over Texas A&M. There, Laughlin able to return it, gets the set, and that's going to be kept alive. Beautiful job. Can he get it back on net? He does.
Wow.
No shot for Texas A&M.
That is going to pump their club up. That was a very far chase down. Great finish. We're going to get another look at that. Laughlin brought the power, put it almost into the signs back there. Bowie has to jump around them, come back, and to have the composure to finish that is just miraculous.
More of a chance here, and that's over the net. As Georgia was looking for another break point. Instead, Texas A&M does get the point, but that might have been the game changer there. Not going to call it the nail in the coffin, but when you're only 2 points away from a match win, it's almost as big as getting that final point.
It's big, and it's just demoralizing for Texas A&M, who are trying to fight their way back into this, and they got to listen to the fans get psyched about that one while they're down 3 points. It's a tough spot to be.
There we see Grant Laughlin faulting on the first serve. He's got something left in his bag of tricks. Now would be a good time to pull it out, down 19-16. Instead, he hits back rim, and now it is match point for Georgia. They can go up 1-0 and be halfway to the required number of wins to winning a college championship. Front rim there for Bowie. He'll get a second serve. Grant Laughlin back to receive.
It's a double fault, but A&M still got a hole to dig out of. They're going to need some big serving from Louis here. This is always a tough spot. Do you bring the heat? Do you take a little off? Do you try and play defense? We'll see what he chooses. I hope he tries pretty hard on this first one.
Funky curve coming off the net, and that will do it. Georgia takes match number 1, 21-17. Able to get the win, and you can see the home team getting all the home support out there on the court right now. And Sean, just the way they were able to finish them off in the teams, that's where this game was decided.
Yeah, it was great composure after losing pretty handedly in game 1. They came back in game 2 and 3 and took that momentum, rode it out, got a win. That's going to be huge in this series matchup.
Let's go down to Stormy Bonantoni for more on this big win for Georgia in match number 1. Stormy?
Well, Addison certainly brought the power in those last couple matches. What was the difference after game 1 to come back and really change the momentum? The mood of this entire building changed after game 1.
Yeah, so after game 1, I think we talked about getting serves on, so we landed some more serves, gave us opportunity to play some more defense, and yeah, get defensive touches to eventually make the breaks to make the comeback. So. Yeah.
How would you describe the pressure and the anxiety to come out here and set the tone in game 1 for your home crowd?
I think it's really important. We need to just take the first win because the second and third games will be extremely close. So I think going into this, we'll have momentum, and hopefully it carries to a national championship.
Is your shoe okay?
Yes, it's okay. It came off a few times, but it is okay.
Congratulations, guys.
The shoe check is complete, and so is match number 1 between Texas A&M and Georgia. Georgia up 1-0 here at the Spikeball College Championships. Welcome back to the Spikeball College Championships. Texas A&M took game 1 of match number 2. Let's get you all caught up by looking back at game 1. And early on, it looked like Texas A&M might run away with match number 2 because they were dominant, Sean.
They were. They came out really strong with serves both from Marshall and Hinkle. Looked like Georgia was going to mount a comeback about halfway through, but just couldn't find enough points to do it in the end, and A&M will take game 1.
Let's introduce you to our players in match number 2. We've got Luke Marshall for Texas A&M, an aerospace engineering major from Austin, Texas. He'll be partnered up with Frederick Hinkle. Frederick from Sugar Land, Texas. He's a communications major. They'll be taking on the duo from Georgia here in match number 2. Started off with Patrick Chu. Chu's from Savannah. He's a management information systems major. And he'll be partnered up with Kyle Chapman. And Kyle, 20 years old, hailing from Hoboken, Georgia. He's a civil engineering major. We'll start it off with the serve. Hinkle back to receive for Texas A&M. Marshall Harris, Sean Boyer back with you here for the Spikeball College Championships, and it is not disappointed so far. Chu on serve number 2. It's a double fault. Not the way you want to start off if you're Georgia. Want to at least get it on net. Instead, 1-0 here in the early going, and Texas A&M will put Hinkle on the line to serve. That one's returned, set up, and a killer finish there by Chu. I wasn't sure if that set was going to be good enough for him to make something happen, Sean, but he does.
Yeah, Chu worked well with it to get it on, and nice power behind it. He also handled that serve well because Hinkle really hit it pretty hard at him.
Trying to body it up is Chapman, but unable to get it off the net cleanly instead of double bounce on the net. Here's Marshall to serve. It's back pocket. Are they going to play it? Nope. Marshall will be given a fault and a second serve. So Chapman back to receive. Here comes the set. Bodied up nicely, but losing his footing was Hinkle. Looked like he was in the right place, but he hit the deck. You can't do that, John.
Yeah, he did, and I think he hit the deck a little too early. The touch from Marshall was a surprise for Hinkle and had to track back towards it, but didn't get a hand on it.
Here, going backwards with it was Hinkle. Easy play to make there for Texas A&M as everything was set up perfectly.
Yeah, it's a nice and smooth backhand. We'll see here. Marshall gives him a set across the net, which is usually the best set you can have because it's towards the defense, and it gives your hitter the opportunity to hit away from them.
All right, Hinkle with what looked like an ace. Are they going to say it was high? Yes. So we'll do it again. Second serve coming for Hinkle. Lets it go soft. Unable to get it where he needs to on the net. And Georgia gets the point. And here in the early going, it's a back and forth affair. Chapman now to serve to Marshall. Pocket, though, on that first serve. So a second serve coming for Kyle Chapman. That one is high. So a lot of non-action here in the early going.
Yeah, coming in game two, still trying to feel each other out, see where they can get the competitive edge. Georgia, I'm not sure they're totally confident. They had a good comeback in game one just to get the scores more aligned, but A&M taking the W at the end.
Pocket there for the double fault. So now Chu, who was able to rally them, goes for the flango, hits pocket there. So
Chu does a step out to make Hinkle jump to his right and then switches into a flango, try and hit it back away from where Hinkle came.
Beautiful job there to roll it on. So he missed. So that's going to be a Georgia point, and Georgia's got a 5-4 lead.
Yeah, you'll see Hinkle takes a dive across the net trying to hit that on. Doesn't make contact, though. It's a no good.
The tweener from Marshall, but ready for it was Chapman, but Chu can't get it back to him. It was well played early on that point, but you got to be able to finish off the set.
Yeah, Chapman was in a great spot. It was a tweener from Marshall. Chapman had an easy up, and then Chu running towards it just somewhat botches that set.
That time we see Hinkle go for the flango, unable to land it. So a second serve, and instead a double fault as he goes front rim on his second serve. So Georgia holding one here in the early going, trying to get a break point. Marshall sets it up for Chapman. Somebody made contact with the net. See who they call that one on.
Yeah, it looked like it was a weird point because the ball that Hinkle hit almost looked like it hit rim and kind of moved the net itself. But then Chapman coming through with his shins touched the net. So they're having a little disagreement here. It looks like they're going to go to the observers, and they're going to be playing it up. So it'll be a Georgia serve. Misses completely, but it was his first serve, or first fault. Second serve here.
That one is returned. Marshall setting it up for Hinkle, and Hinkle gets it through. Chapman thought about it, but it was too far. Let's head downstairs and check back in with Stormy. Stormy?
Well, Hinkle coming through just there, but on his previous serve, the double fault, and something in that previous time where they were sitting down there and talking over what they wanted to do in their next match was the faults for him. That was a real point of emphasis. He wanted to take a step back. He said he was getting too many in those first game. So interesting to see that early on in this match, he's still having trouble with it.
So Hinkle trying to keep his team alive, already with one game lead. Going for the tweener there is Chu. Made some contact with Marshall, incidental. But now Georgia in control, up 8-6.
Yeah, this is a great replay. Let's take a look here. The set is going to come a little off the net and unable to hit it back on.
So a second serve now coming for Chu. With Hinkle back, he returns it, set up beautifully by Marshall off the body of Chu. Almost had it where he wanted it, but instead ricochets into no man's land.
Well, when you've been playing long enough, you can recognize a miss hit when you see it, and Hinkle did not mean to do that, but sometimes miss hits really are fortunate and work out for you.
Well, you heard what Stormy had to say about Hinkle's serve. Let's see what he does here. Front rim on the first one, so we'll get a second one. See if he does indeed take a step back Up on the line. Chu back to receive. And another double fault. What are you seeing there, Sean, with Hinkle?
I mean, he's known for his power. He's bringing the heat. I think he needs to take a little off, kind of reset where he's at, because it's not working right now.
Chapman had the right idea, but Luke Marshall able to hit it just out of his reach as Texas A&M gets another point. Looking for a break point, though, so they can tie this thing up. Marshall now on the serve, looking to pivot. Instead, finds himself a lobster trap.
Georgia's doing themselves a lot of favors here by not digging a deep hole like they did in game 1. We'll see if it makes a difference. They got a slight edge into the middle half of this game.
Nice attempt at a kill. Can they get it back on net? Here's Hinkle, and that's exactly what he does. The finishing touch on a beautiful point for Texas A&M, and we are all square at 9.
Yeah, defensive chemistry is so hard. You'll see Georgia kind of got caught on each side of the net there. It's really hard to cover the 360 degrees that the offense has to work with.
Beautiful job of a comeback there by Georgia. Chapman with the set, and Chu with the finish in reverse. So Georgia back up by 1, looking for a break point to go back up 2. That was a tough return from Marshall. Couldn't do anything with it, and Hinkle didn't have much of a chance there. And now Georgia back in control after the break point on the serve by Chu. Fuengo off the rim.
Chu has been serving well, although he may not always be getting clean aces. He's forcing A&M with bad touches on their first hit.
Here they get a pretty good situation, and Hinkle takes advantage of it with the tweener.
Looks like there's a slight discrepancy on what the call is there. We'll see what the observers say.
Looks like they thought he made contact, perhaps, but the observer saying that's not the case. Instead, we're going to play on, and nice serve there by Hinkle. See if they can get it back on net, though. Marshall back to Hinkle. The body not in time from Chu, and Texas A&M ties things up.
It's a big point for A&M. This is a tough spot to be. They have to decide who's going to set, who's going to hit. Hinkle ends up being the hitter and sneaks it past Chu over the shoulder.
Here's Hinkle, looking to do better on his serves. Lays one softly. Chu to Chapman. Bodied up, saved nicely, and what a point by Marshall and Hinkle. Frederick Hinkle, the finishing touch after Marshall able to snag it out of the air.
As a player, that's what you live for. It's just a quick hit right into Hinkle. He puts his arm out, and then Marshall has the wits to make a play on it and give it back to Hinkle for the finish. That's a huge point. It's got to fire him up.
Hinkle maybe a little too amped up as he misses everything on his first, so everything goes back rim on his second, so a double fault. Georgia trying to get back in control. 9 points to go to get to 21 here in game number 2. Texas A&M leading 1-0. Georgia, though, leading 1-0 in terms of matches played. Now 13-12. Texas A&M up, and Luke Marshall serving. Kyle Chapman back to receive. Quick pivot, his front rim. Second serve coming for Luke Marshall. This time he goes soft. Chu is ready, so is Chapman. Still keeping it alive. And that is a point for Texas A&M. Looked like a couple of missed opportunities for both teams. Could have hit on 2, could have put it away.
Yeah, you'll see here Chapman, he has too many options, so he doesn't really know what to do. Marshall does a good job getting his head, just filling space, kind of closing those gaps, and really is a big mental error for Georgia.
Yeah, it looked like Chapman had different ways he could have ended that point, and great job there by Chu to respond with his team down by 2 points and get the point and get the serve. Now they're going to need a break point to even things up, though.
Yeah, it's tough playing from behind, especially after game 1, after losing that, knowing this could be the end of the road for match 2.
Goes for the soft wing. Fuengo unable to get it to the net. Instead, it's a front rimmer, so he'll get a second serve. Lobster trap not going to get the job done. It's a double fault. So Texas A&M serving with a 2-point lead, 15-13 here in game 2. Hinkle trying to figure out what he wants to do. They return the serve, and that's not going to get the job done. I'm surprised with the way things have gone that they didn't try to say that was too high, because I've seen much lower serves.
It's one of those situations that's so tough because they get the up, they think, all right, we'll just play it because, you know, he got a hand on it. But in hindsight, you're like, I should have just called a high there. We could have gotten a first fault and played second serve. It's those split-second decisions that can come back to bite you.
Georgia gets the point there, and now Chapman needing to find a way to get a break point with Luke Marshall back to receive. Instead gets front rim on the first serve. Chapman on serve number 2. Front rim again. And now the lead has grown, and we may have a situation here where Texas A&M is going to have a chance to end this match after just 2 games. It was a narrow win in game 1, 21-19. It was a big comeback by Georgia to make it tight, but unable to quite cross the goal line. Now you have a situation where it's 17-15, and Patrick Chu was a big reason why they were able to come back. Let's see what he has here in game 2.
Yeah, the difference for me so far is Georgia's just been making uncharacteristic mental errors. As a team who preaches consistency, they're not going to be happy with the performance up until now, but it's not over yet. They could fix this situation.
There we see Hinkle, and Marshall lets it bounce, and a bad decision there. Instead, Georgia gets the point. Now they have a chance. Fuego time, front rim. He has not been able to land that Fuego today.
He hasn't, and Chu needs to pull it out here. This is the moment, but unfortunately, a double fault. It'll go back into the hands of A&M.
Got to give yourself a chance by getting the ball on net on your serve. Now Hinkle has the 2-point lead to play with. Hits back rim on serve number 1.
That windup from Hinkle is just so big. As a receiver, you're just expecting it to fly at your face.
Here, set over the net. Can he keep it alive? Marshall dives for it, gets a hand on it, but not enough. So now, needing a break point is Georgia.
Yeah, Marshall has a nice rundown on this because the ball hangs in the air, which kind of teases him into thinking, oh, I might be able to get this, but a little out of reach and can't put it up.
Meanwhile, Chapman tries to pivot, hits front rim instead. Second serve coming. Georgia down by 1, needing a break point. Instead gets a pocket there, and Marshall will serve, 2 points away from taking the match. Marshall returned by Chu. Chapman over to Chu. Can he chase it down? Hinkle keeps it alive. He's going to have to get back up, though, and he hits the net, and that'll do it. One of the spike ball poles falls down in the distance as a valiant effort there by Texas A&M.
Yeah, Hinkle puts his body on the line here. A massive spike from Chu. Hinkle running into the signs out there. It was a good effort, but I think that those signs kind of caught him up. He wasn't able to make it back.
What a play there by Patrick Chu. He makes it look easy. It's 19-18, but they still need a break point.
They absolutely do if they want any shot at winning this match, too, or at least staying in it, forcing a game 3.
Chu trying to figure out what he wants to do with Luke Marshall back. That ball is too high. His last serve, we saw him double fault. Can't afford one of those in this situation. You have to at least give yourself a chance with putting the ball in play. Good serve there, set up nicely. Now Georgia with a chance, and they take advantage of it. Kyle Chapman into the empty space in the gym. It's 19-all.
Georgia getting a little momentum back. You'll see this set from Hinkle right there was off the net, so Marshall couldn't have a good play to finish that. Puts the ball in Georgia's court, and they say, yes, please.
Front rim there on the first serve for Patrick Chu. Needs to get the ball in net. Does that. Hinkle sets it, and what a bad hit there by Luke Marshall. He could have literally just lifted it straight up, and Hinkle was there to do whatever.
Yeah, A&M seems to be mentally crumbling right now after a good performance up until now, and it's an unfortunate time for them because we are in the final bits of this game 2.
All right, so after a fault, Chu will serve a chance to take the game. He needs a break point to take the game. Marshall back to receive Chu, and he hits back pocket. Oh, we're headed to extra points here. 20-all. Got to win by 2 here.
Georgia not giving up just yet. I love to see it.
Hinkle now with the serve. That one hits pocket. Chapman back to receive on his second serve. And he hits rim there. So now another chance. Chapman will serve for game point for Georgia. It's a break point. It's a game point. Texas A&M up 1-0. That one goes high.
We'll see. We've had 2 back-to-back double faults. Hopefully not a third for Georgia, but they get it on.
This one gets on. Bodied by Chapman, but over the net. And it's 21-21. So Marshall looking for a break point. Instead, a lobster trap on serve number 1. He'll get another chance. Takes the easy way out here. Saved. And just out of the outstretched reach of Frederick Hinkle. And Chu and Chapman back in business.
Marshall takes a little off the serve to make sure he gets it on, but sometimes when you do that, it just makes offense too easy for the opposing team.
Another flango, another fault for Patrick Chu. So they'll readjust the net. Serving here for break point and game point once again. This one will be returned. Hinkle sets it up. And right in the space that was previously occupied by Chu, Marshall able to get it down. And that'll tie things up again. And now Hinkle on to serve in a 22-22 ball game. That ball goes high. Second serve coming from Hinkle. Chapman back to receive. Able to get it back on. Tried to hit on 2 instead of setting it. And a break point and a huge one. And now we're looking at match point for Texas A&M after Patrick Chu decides to hit on 2 and doesn't get it on net.
Yeah, it's so hard for Chu because he just sees open space. He's like, why wouldn't I hit on 2 here? But that's the reason why. You almost always want to use all 3 touches to maximize control.
Hinkle gets it up. Set nicely. Marshall tries to return it, but he can't get it back cleanly. We're back knotted up at 23, and here we go.
That could have been game and match right there if Marshall had a better hand on it.
So Chapman on the serve, pivoting. Good job of returning there. But missing the net is Luke Marshall and a break point. And if they can get a second break point, they'll extend this to a 3rd game.
The set was a little awkward for Marshall. He kind of has to flail his body around, and I think that's what makes him miss here.
All right, that one goes high, so we'll do it again. Again, break point, game point for Georgia. Chapman serving. Gets it up. It's returned. Marshall. And they're able to finish it off. Wow. Back-to-back break points for Georgia. 25-23. And we will have a game 3 and match number 2 and a chance at Georgia finishing off Texas A&M. The Spikeball College Championships are brought to you by Spike Buoy. It's Spikeball in water. Game number 3, match number 2. Texas A&M trying to stay alive by winning the match. Meanwhile, Georgia can clinch the Spikeball College Championship if they take game 3 here. Marshall Harris back with you with Sean Boyer, Stormy Bonantoni, giving you the call of what's been an exciting day of Roundnet so far. We're starting out with Patrick Chu serving. Frederick Hinkle able to get the first point on a textbook Roundnet play.
Yeah, Hinkle just throws that into space, hits it right between the defense. It was a nice solid start.
All right, so front rim there for Hinkle on his first serve, and What's got to be the mindset here of a Texas A&M team that had that game all but won late and then watch Georgia come back?
Yeah, it came down to those mental errors from A&M after a very strong game 2, which ended up in forcing this game 3. I think they got to just rely on what they've been doing, keep to the same strategies, and hope in this game 3 they can get an edge.
Patrick Chu with the kill there. That'll put the ball in Kyle Chapman's hands as he'll serve. And Chu was at the start of that comeback again on his serve, able to bring back Georgia. And now Texas A&M's got to gather things together. For more, let's check in with Stormy.
Well, you guys talked about the mindset of Texas A&M. Well, the mindset of this UGA team is just one more. 21 points is all we need. Let's go in here and get the work done here at home. And Patrick True kind of funnily said that he was a little bit tired, which is ironic because everybody on his team makes fun of him for being lazy because he doesn't really move a whole lot out there on the court. He takes fewer steps than he does grunts, apparently, according to the rest of his team. But he said that he was feeling a little bit tired.
Well, he's been certainly efficient today, Stormy, and Patrick Chu, maybe they got to work on his conditioning program, Sean, but right now they've gotten it done. And here in the early going in game 3, we're seeing just from a technical standpoint, pretty fundamentally solid. This is what you're supposed to do when you're on defense playing Roundnet.
Yeah, nothing too fancy from either team at the start of this game 3. I think they both just want to get those points that they know they can earn and not make those mental errors that have kind of been the difference in game 1 and 2.
Double fault there from Frederick Hinkle. Goes back over to Kyle Chapman. So Chapman and Chu here, able to engineer a comeback in game number 2. They can clinch a national championship if they can find a way to get it done. Meanwhile, as Stormy mentioned, Texas A&M just trying to get to 21 points so they can force a third match between the two schools. Chapman, front rim there, double fault. And now Luke Marshall will have a chance to serve a break point and put his team up by 2. Pivots over to his right. That one's up in the air. It's going to be a difficult return. And, yep, that's one way to get the job done if you're Luke Marshall, as Kyle Chapman could not handle the serve.
Yeah, good speed from Marshall on that serve. And for them to get a few points up here in the early stages of game 3 will be huge mentally, knowing that the whole title is on the line if they lose.
Marshall serving for a break point, unable to get it done, however, as the point goes to Georgia after the double fault. And Texas A&M here in match number 2 has gotten out to leads in each of the first 2 games. Georgia's come back twice, but in game number 1, Texas A&M able to rally and hold them off. In game number 2, that wasn't the case as we played past 21. Georgia able to win on back-to-back break points. Let's see, a fault was called there. And right now, Texas A&M in control after a break point. Hinkle. They're saying that's a high serve. I don't believe it was, but let's see what the observers say. They're going to redo it.
Yeah, I think they're going to redo it, so it'll still be his second serve here.
So Hinkle trying to figure out what he wants to do. Goes for the power, but hits the back of the rim. 6-5. Texas A&M up. Kyle Chapman looking for a break point. That one goes high.
A little high there. If you hit pocket, hit rim, or go high over them, it'll be considered a fault, and you're allowed 2.
And double fault for Chapman. And Texas A&M trying to grow that lead to a point where Georgia can't make a comeback. Return there. Softly done.
Smart play by Chu. He saw Marshall creeping on the net, so he just takes some power off, hits it into his shin, and there's no way that ball is going to be coming back towards him.
Fuengo still working on that is Patrick Chu. He's yet to land one of those, but do you like that he keeps going back to it?
He's been getting the aces, so I don't necessarily think I would tell him to stop. But at some point, you've got to make the other team earn it.
What a save. Let's see if they can get it back on net, though. Chapman instead ends up with a lobster trap, but it was a valiant save to start off the hit from Chu.
Yeah, we've been seeing this a lot today. Amazing defensive ups, forcing a chance at it, and then missing on that final stage. It's hard to be upset, but those conversions are what really make a difference.
Here's Frederick Hinkle. He goes with the Fuengo, the soft toss. Chu from Chapman, and then Chapman with the finish. Great response there to a difficult serve considering how powerful Hinkle usually is with his serves.
Yeah, take a look at this. Chapman does a good job getting the short. I think he senses Marshall coming over behind him to try and play that wrap hit. So he hits it with a backhand behind him where Marshall just was.
Here's Kyle Chapman again, returned by Hinkle, and then over to Marshall, who easily sets up Hinkle for the kill.
A&M with a nice 2-point cushion here. They're going to need this going into the second half.
That ball goes up and high. Marshall will get a second serve. Chu back to respond, and that one misses everything. Double fault, so now Chu will be in the driver's seat. Again, Texas A&M up 9-8. Second serve coming for Patrick Chu. Is the team of Chu and Chapman. He hits front rim, though. It's a double fault.
Yeah, they're just trading points back and forth here. We've seen this today. These teams are evenly matched. They're trying to find the edge in the serve.
Here comes the set. Is that a hinder? No. Looked like it was out of space.
Yeah, if the ball was a little more playable, not hit so far along, we'll get another look here. Then possibly a hinder call, but Chu was trying to duck away, and Hinkle didn't have a play on it.
Pocket there for Chapman. Georgia looking for a break point to even things back up after being down 2 most of this game. Double fault instead, though. And now a chance for a break point for Luke Marshall. Marshall serving. Steps into it. That ball goes high.
You can never count Georgia out. Just as similar to last game, they were playing from behind, and in the later stages, they pulled through, got the W. So I think A&M knows that in the back of their mind, and they're not going to let up.
Double fault there, so now Chu, with the ball back in his hands as a server, goes traditional. And that was not a flingo. That was not a soft hit. That was just power act to do something if you want, and Marshall had no answers.
Pure power catches him off guard. Let's take another look. It shoots right into the belly of Marshall there, and he can't really get a hand to it in time.
So the jammer is the first break point for Georgia in game number 3, and here we are, all squared 11, and now Frederick Hinkle will try to get the ball back in for Texas A&M. And does that by not having to do anything because it's a double fault on Chu. Hinkle. A little high there for Chu to return. So a second serve coming. Able to return it with his left set. Can he get the backhand going? They keep it alive, but Hinkle can't hit. Wow, golden opportunity missed there for Texas A&M.
Yeah, the body from Hinkle to initially put that ball up. We'll get a look here at it. He throws his body in front of it, comes off the chest of Marshall, and Marshall's reaction time was pretty impressive to even get a hand towards it. But it was a toughie for Hinkle to even think about putting that back on.
Meanwhile, Chapman trying to pivot on serve number 1, unable to get it down on net. Marshall back to receive. This one set up by Hinkle. Marshall trying to figure out which way he wants to go with it. He had options, and he used the left. Georgia arguing that there was contact with the net. And they're going to say it is Texas A&M.
Yeah, I saw the net move a little bit. I don't know if it was necessarily contact from A&M, so observers will rule that it was clean.
Return there by Chapman. Now trying to get it done was Hinkle. And see, that's a point. When you have a chance for a break point, Sean, you got to take advantage of that situation when the team has an unforced error.
100%. That was, I mean, to put lightly, pretty ugly from Marshall. It wasn't a tough position for a set, but caught him off guard.
And here comes Chapman, saved by Marshall. Can he get back on net? No. And so one team unable to take advantage of a break point opportunity. The other team comes right back and gets the break point, and that's how championships are decided.
Yeah, Georgia looking really smooth here. Puts that long. Marshall's trying to make up for this last point, but the set from Hinkle is a little far for him, and so they can't convert.
Flango, and it actually gets down. I believe it was rim.
As you said, though, that minor mistake from Marshall could result in a snowball effect for Georgia to just take this over.
And there you have it. Chu right into Marshall again, unable to get it over to Hinkle. 15-13. Georgia now operating with a 2-point cushion. Here in game number 3 and match number 2 with Georgia up 1-0. Take another look.
Yeah, that's a serve. We just call it a jammer. Hits right into his chest, and he can't get a hand to it. Coming off that net so fast.
So we've seen here Texas A&M in each of these 3 games has built an early lead to watch Georgia come back. Here we see Georgia come back maybe even a little earlier than what we've been used to. Usually Texas A&M gets to around 15, 16 points before Georgia makes the move. Georgia's already made the move. They're in the driver's seat. 6 more points, they're going to win a national championship.
Yeah, and I think they can taste it at this point. They've really shown the resilience. Maybe that home court advantage, having the fans behind them is making the difference. But in game 2 and 3 of both of the matches we've seen so far, Georgia has powered through, and A&M's crumbling a little bit mentally.
So again, Georgia gets the break point after Texas A&M couldn't take advantage of their opportunity to get a break point. They're up 15-13 here in game number 3. The serve by Chu. The inability for Hinkle to get the hit back over to his partner, Luke Marshall. And Marshall, I think, got hurt on that play, taking a dive.
Yeah, you saw on that replay, Chu is usually putting that ball out wide, and that time slips it back towards Hinkle's left hand, and Hinkle is not prepared.
Fault on the attempted flango from Chu. Hits front rim on that one. But Georgia's still with a 2-point lead. You're going to need several break points here from Texas A&M in order to find a way to get this done.
Yeah, this is going to be a big final stretch for A&M and see if they can fight their way back into this one. But right now, I got to say, momentum's in Georgia's court.
Frederick Hinkle trying to decide what he wants to do on his second serve. That one gets on net. Here comes Chapman trying to body it, but I believe I heard rim on that. And they're going to say a good point. Take another look.
Yeah, powerful serve from Hinkle. A big windup from Chapman, and I think they're calling that one good.
Yeah, pocket instead. And now Chapman serving. Georgia has a 3-point lead. 4 points away from a national championship. That one returned. Bodied up by Chapman, but nowhere in the neighborhood of one Patrick Chu. So it's 17-15 now. Luke Marshall trying to serve his team back into it. Marshall can't get in on net on serve number 1. Second serve coming with Patrick Chu. That one gets up. Chu going for the kill. Marshall on the run. Gets it back over towards Hinkle. Hinkle over to Marshall. And unable to get it done. And Georgia gets another point now. 3 points away from a national championship.
That would have been a big point for Texas A&M to win. Just mentally get their heads back in this. Unfortunately, they don't do it. It's going to be tough to come back.
Patrick Chu now on a second serve. 18-15, Georgia with the lead. Luke Marshall back to respond. Double faults on the high serve. If you're going to get some break points, now would be a good time. Frederick Hinkle, his fingers are taped. Goes front rim on serve number 1.
I'd like to see him just get this one on and make Georgia earn this point instead of getting a double fault.
Kyle Chapman back to receive.
Tries to get a little cheeky, goes short. We haven't seen any shorts really work up until now. I would consider a poor decision, but game's not over yet.
2 more points for Georgia. Here comes Kyle Chapman. The pivot goes front rim on serve number 1. First one to 21 takes the game. That one gets down on net. Hitting on 2. Trying to keep the body alive. Still alive. Here comes the rally. Chapman. Set. And a beautiful play by Luke Marshall. And a point that Texas A&M had to have.
Where do we even start with that point? First, we had a on-2 hit that I thought they were going to be punished for. A&M, that is. Georgia comes in and they whiff a shot there. Gives Aggies the chance to keep in this game.
Big game point here. Bulldogs can taste it.
Not just a game point, it is a match point. Who else but Patrick Chu serving for it? He goes front rim on serve number 1. Georgia serving for it again, and it's an ace to end it. And with that, Georgia storms back and takes match number 2, and with it, the Spikeball College Championship.
Welcome back to Athens, Georgia, and our winners of the Spikeball College Championship, the UGA Bulldogs. Congratulations. First and foremost, guys, after coming in 3rd last year, you guys said that was motivation for you guys coming into this year. How gratifying is the redemption on the stage and taking the championship?
Oh man, it's unbelievable. Coming in last year, we didn't really know what to expect and ended up getting 3rd, and then we took that motivation, grinded all year long, had practice after practice, played in tournaments after tournament, and then coming here, seeing all the hard work pay off is just, you can't ask for any better feeling out there.
In both of these first 2 matches, you guys went down a game to Texas A&M. How are you able to battle back and close this thing out so strong?
Honestly, the first game was rough. Yeah, we were getting A's, but it's like since we took that long break, I think we needed that needed time to get back into it. And I think as the games ramped up, the more points we got in, we just started to get our feeling back, and then we definitely came out on top.
Well, it was a lot of fun. This thing was rocking. If you guys don't mind, before I let you go, can I get you to call the dogs for me?
All right, you got it, Kyle.
Go Dogs! Sing it!
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Stormy. Let's take a look at our Spikeball backyard highlights of the month. And Sean, you don't have to be a professional to know how to make good use of the Spikeball, whether it's on land or in water.
Yeah, they're having fun here, putting the buoy on the set to float in the pool. A great dive, commitment to the play to keep that one alive.
And then this is just crazy right here. So many plays on this rally that were impressive.
Yeah, a long get right there. And he comes back towards the net, dives, barely keeps it alive. But these ladies finish.
Gotta be able to finish. Gotta be able to finish. Georgia, your national champions. Let's take a look at how they got it done in Game 3 of Match 2. Texas A&M got off to an early, strong start yet again, Sean. But you know what? It's not how you start, it's how you finish that matters.
Exactly. A&M won both Game 1s of each match, but UGA coming in strong, getting Game 2 and 3. We saw it in their play. They were confident. Maybe had some good talks with their teammates, decided how they were going to adjust. And in the end, we're the better team consistently.
And you take a look at just the Kyle Chapman and Patrick Chu combination. We talked to these guys beforehand, and we knew that they were going to be ready and consistent, and depth really coming into play. But we never even got to a 3rd match because they were able to finish off Texas A&M, and it seemed like that home court advantage started to pay big dividends late.
It really did. It seemed like it was getting in A&M's head a little bit. Their mentality, you could just see sort of shrink as Georgia was pulling away, calling timeouts, trying to just slow their momentum. But Chu was on fire with those serves.
Yeah, again, Texas A&M had a lead early in this one, but once Georgia got in control, they never let up, and really no answers for Texas A&M late in this one.
It was tough, and we'll see here a poetic ending for Chu. He was big for them on serves and ends up getting the ace for the win. Couldn't have asked for a better end on Georgia's front.
That's how you get championship point done. The celebration on court, and Georgia is your national champion. And now the Savage Apparel Company plays of the day, and there were several highlight reel plays happening between Texas A&M and Georgia.
Both teams bringing out all the tricks, all the skills. A nice tweener there from Georgia. It was a good set from his partner. The fans are absolutely loving it.
And you see guys not afraid to hit the deck, if you will. Everyone had on knee pads, and they were not afraid to use them, even though they were on an unfamiliar surface for some. And you see the ace there to end it, and that was kind of the story of the day, is Patrick Chu's ability to make things happen late. Georgia wins the national championship. And we'd like to thank everyone who tuned in for the Spikeball College Championships from our entire crew, including Sean Boyer, Stormy Bonantoni, and Marshall Harris. Thanks for joining us. The Spikeball National Championship has been decided here in Athens.